Yes, darling, it is time. The Bachelor recap with one Sid Sixero and Nicole Sabrinas. It was a rose with many thorns, and somebody was sent home. Before we get to it, friends, let's talk about what was sweet smelling, and that was one conversation between father and son. Okay, Matt James met with his papa. What happened?
I mean, Nicole, to me, this was the most dramatic part of what is normally a fairly dramatic episode. You know, you have the fantasy suites. Fantasy suites are a fun episode, as we know. But this was there was an overriding theme most of the season with Matt and his dad. And it's just kind of, you saw a bit in the previews, but this was, Nicole, I wasn't expecting it to be that dramatic, and it was one to remember.
I'm talking about it because I'm thinking about my life.
Oh, here we're listening.
Things that I feel like I've missed out on.
Now, Sid's being serious. You're not being sarcastic. It's hard to tell the difference sometimes, Sid.
I'm being very serious.
You're being very serious.
Matt James basically telling his dad his dad did not want to have this conversation by the end. Like, there was no question about it. This was, on his end, this was pretty awkward about what family meant to Matt in relation to what his reality was growing up. And Nicole, I mean, they hugged it out at the end, but his dad wanted no part of it, it looked like.
Well, I feel like he took a long time to get there. Like, he was asking his dad to basically say, I'm sorry for not being there for you. And his dad kind of pushed it and made excuses for it. And then slowly, I mean, he kind of broke down and then eventually said, like, I'm sorry. But you could tell that it got a while to get there. And I'm surprised that they did that on national television because, I mean, he talked about it throughout the season. Like you said, Sid, like, their relationship has not been good. So to have that intimate conversation was very dramatic, as you said.
Props to both of them, by the way, on this national... more and how many countries, you know, get The Bachelor, and to have these real talks, that's gutsy. So good on both of them. Okay, let's get to those fantasy suites. Were they filled with fantasy or nightmare? Okay, first up, Michelle. Now, Nicole, this is your front runner. You love Michelle. She was one of the ones later in the game to be brought in, like the second batch of women vying for his love, but they hit it off right away.
Is that milk?
They did, yeah. They had a spa day. It was very odd because it was a different kind of spa where they put themselves in a milk bath. They put their feet in oats and rubbed each other down in butter. Sounds a lot like breakfast, but it was romantic in their eyes, and you could just tell she's a sweet soul. Like, and when they're together, I don't know about you guys, but when I watch them together, it's like they've always been. Like, it feels very comfortable, very natural. There aren't any hard-hitting conversations or twists and turns because they're on the same page. To me, that's a good sign of like a long-lasting relationship.
Okay, but when they told Matt James to, you know, remain mum on the issue, man, did he deliver last night, which everyone is saying. So Michelle said, I love you. You know what Matt said? Nothing. Nothing.
He was on top of the balcony waving, and they were blowing kisses, and I thought that he would yell it out. I was waiting for like the Romeo moment, and nothing. He said nothing. So I was disappointed.
Is he still kissing with his eyes open? I won't be able to see it till next week. Is he, Sid?
I think we can confirm. Yes, he is. Okay. It's the weirdest thing ever. Thank you for pointing that.
No problem.
By the way, if you ever asked me to do the oatmeal foot thing in the studio, I'm going to say no. That's a hard no from me. Not doing any foot stuff. Leave me alone.
Peloton or oatmeal? Which one's worse, Sid? Peloton wins.
I'd rather hop in the Peloton the way Devo just did.
Fitness, Sid, is fun. To BT officially tomorrow. You better get used to moving in the morning, my friend. It's every day.
I got to do the next. I got to do like a month's worth. I'm next. So Bree is next, right? Dina, we're going to Bree.
We're going from oatmeal to Bree.
You can always tell who's being sent home in this episode by how crappy their day is.
Really?
It's not even close. They sent Bree in the woods. Michelle had like oatmeal feet and a milk bath. They put Bree out in the woods and go make some s'mores and pitch a tent, an actual tent for the record. Yes,
Sid,
that was the day.
What does that mean for me? Because they put me out in the woods. So what does that mean for me?
It means that you're a nature lover, Nicole.
It means you're getting sent home in this show is what it means. You never, when you get the worst date, you're not sticking around. So anyway, I don't want to jump the queue as to what happened here, but Bree didn't have the best date. I'll put it that way. I didn't think it was fair.
Okay, let's get to Rachel real quick. She's the one that's surrounded in some controversy, which is why Chris Harrison won't be on the show next week for the finale because he stood up for her. This is a little bit of a reminiscent ghost pottery scene. Was it as romantic as Demi Moore?
It was. I'll divert to you, Nicole. It got awkward off the front with Rachel, but they figured it out, didn't they?
Yeah, they figured it out real quick, so much so they didn't even finish. He scooped her up and out they went. And yeah, she was having anxiety. Mostly their conversation was about her having a hard time seeing him or imagining him with other women, naturally. And then they cleared it up. He said he loves her. She's the only one that he has said that to. So, I mean, it leads us to believe that she's the one, I think, right now. What do you guys, who are you
Bree
rooting
said,
for?
I'm so in love with you.
Win?
Matt said nothing. And then Rachel
Nothing.
said, I'm so in love with you. And Matt said, what, Nick? I thought he said nothing again.
No, he said it back. He said it back. I love you too. Or in that world, or I'm falling in love with you, something like that.
Ooh.
He muttered the word love in there.
I'll tell you, Michelle got the first rose. Spoiler alert, Rachel got the second.
Bye,
and he
Bree.
sent Bree home. How do we feel about that, Sid?
Not a huge shock. I'll say this, though. Rachel's been the favorite for me the whole time. Michelle and him have a connection, man.
Yeah?
There is something happening here. Next week's going to be crazy. I mean, nuts.
Okay. People love Bree, though. Twitter was mad. The Twitterverse, they were mad. They're like, who lets Bree go home? She's the top cheese. You know what I'm saying with that, Bree?
And you know what's good? Is that she's single now for Devo Brown.
Oh, Nicole's making a
There we
love
go, Devo.
connection.
What a moment.
Hey, you know what
What a
has a
moment.
nice ring to it? Bree Brown. Double B's.
There you go.
Try some cheese. Brie Brown. That's nice, Nicole. We're putting that. Devo said he's not mad at that.
Devo's fine with all of it.
He's smiling like we have Brie waiting in the wings and they're ready to get married right now. Okay. Coming up next, speaking of cheese and food and all that, he is one of the top. Thanks, guys, for that breakdown. He is one of the top cheeses when it comes to the culinary world. I'm talking about Curtis Stone. He's going to whip up a delicious steamed sticky toffee pudding. Take that, Bachelor. Take that with your oatmeal.